You are listening to Unequaled with JC Carroll and Ajay Salveson. But first, our friends, the Painted Roses.
Hi, this is Karen Nielsen with Guild Mortgage in Logan, Utah. Beyond great rates, we're committed to ongoing customer service even after your loan closes. We want you to experience knowledge, communication, and amazing customer service for a lasting relationship. Make Guild Mortgage your trusted partner.
Welcome to another edition of Unequal. JC Carroll and Ajay Salveson. As we stroll along, here's our podcast and great episodes. Zach Vigil was great. Loved having him on, and I've never seen you so engaged while talking about cows.
Hey, there's mostly horses with him, not cows. And if you have to get in conversations with me because I can talk about cows all day long. It became something very interesting to me. The genetics, the breeding, the quality of beef that you could produce. We do a whole episode on talking about Wagyu beef.
Do you fish?
Yeah, but not anything fancy, like a worm and little brook trout up in the mountains.
I do you fish for price.
Oh,
Throw them in.
I do have fly rod. I've played around with the fly rod a little bit, but I'm not anything special.
Okay. Well, our next guest is a pro fisherman, is a legendary assistant coach, I would say, and actually temporarily a Skyview basketball coach for at least one summer. And he joins us here on Unequal. This is going to be one of the, when I was working in radio, there's two interviews I was terrified to do because of who they were. Stu Morrill, Kohn Smith.
Look, Stu Morrill I can understand, but my experience with Coach Smith is he's very kind, he's very generous,
he's very nice. But when you hear the name Kohn Smith, it's a little intimidating. Okay? And he joins us here on Unequal. Coach, hi, how are you? Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you. It's a real pleasure for me to be here with a couple of guys I really respect, for sure, and have watched through the years.
Well, I think we watched a lot more at JC than we watched me at the broadcast table pushing buttons, let's be honest. Coach, before we get into the whole how Coach Smith became Coach Kohn Smith, what are you doing now? Where are you at, and how's the family?
Well, I'm retired, so basically I try to find the next fish I can catch. I live out on Hollow Road in Nibley, right at the mouth of Blacksmith Fork Canyon. I have the Blacksmith Fork River going right through my place.
You live right next to my parents?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and so just love it out there. I've had 6 horses, and I just have really enjoyed being able to enjoy my family here in the valley because we go right back to the first 6 families that settled Logan. So, yeah, their name's on the rock there at the Tabernacle. So we go back a long ways, early pioneers.
Your boy, Taylor, is coaching boys basketball at Mountain Crest High School, right? JC also coaching girls basketball.
But your grandson, Chandler's your grandson, right? No, it's your son.
Oh, Chandler's my son. He's my youngest, yeah.
Got all that talent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he enjoys being out there. He loves coaching. I don't know. I tell him he ought to do something that makes him a little money. But he enjoys being out there, and he really enjoys being with JC. He's told me that many times.
What is Steve doing?
Steve now owns the business that I started, the fly fishing business. It's called Round Rock. Okay. And he actually has done very, very well now. They sell about 4 million flies a year, and they're in stores all across the country. So he's busy doing that and doing very well.
It's awesome. How did you, Round Rocks, you started the company. Was it flies that you guys were making and just start selling them, or is that what the business is?
Well, when I was through coaching, I decided that, in fact, it's kind of funny. Coach Knight called me and said, okay, we're in the fly fishing business now. And I'm like, well, okay, but he goes, no, you're really good at this, so you need to do this. And so we started it with just a little small store here in Logan, and then build it from there. And it had a kind of a lot of ways how you build a business, kind of the American dream, but pretty much unheard of. You start from nothing and you start building a business. But the biggest thing that I did is I went into Sportsman's Warehouse when they were just one store, and they have guys going there to sell them flies every day. And so I'm just one of those guys. But I went in there, and I said to the owner, his name was Bill, and I said, Bill, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you so many flies, and you put them in your bins and see if you sell them, because you don't have any beadhead nymphs.
Yeah, okay.
And that was a new thing then, and whatever. And so I said, I'm telling you, these will do really well in your store. Well, he says, I can't pass that up, I mean, so I put them in there. The next week he calls me, goes, we sold them all. You got to get back down here. So that got my foot in the door. But, that's kind of like recruiting. Yeah. Business is the same. You have to have a plan. You have to have a game plan. You have to look at opportunities. You have to, try to make the contacts that you can. And you got to be legitimate. You got to be able to play, And I'd fly fish since I was 8 years old and tied flies. So, been all over the world fishing. So I just tried to do that, and it was crazy, but it gave me a chance to meet a lot of really neat people. I became really good friends with Larry H. Miller, in the Jazz, and took him fishing, took Johnny Bench fishing, took the Osmonds fishing, took all kinds of people like that, the governor, things like that, and then just established relationships, and were able to do well in business. But you don't do well in business unless you have a product that somebody wants. You can't make them buy something they don't want to buy.
How did you end up with Johnny Bench?
Johnny Bench was playing for the Reds, and Coach Knight and I used to drive from Bloomington over to Cincinnati and watch him play. And that's when they were the big red machine. Yeah. Pete Rose and
Joe Morgan.
Yeah, Joe Morgan, and we'd actually sit right on the dugout, and Bench and Rose would come over and talk. And I remember one game that their manager had Coach Knight fill out the batting order for the game. Yeah, and so I mean it was really fun. So we kind of became friends with them, and I actually took Johnny Bench down the Green River once. Had a great time with him. He had those great big hands where he could hold 5 baseballs in each hand, and I'm there tying a fly on for him, and I got a great picture of him with a Green River rainbow. But he was probably the best catcher that ever played, to be able to spend a few days with him and things, but it's things like that I've been able to kind of do throughout the years, and I've been really fortunate that way.
That's really cool. No, that's really cool. And not only that side that you were able to take some of these guys fishing and connect with people through fishing, but the business you've been able to build. I don't know when it came, but I remember your shop down here.
Yeah.
And just kind of like, what's this guy doing at this little shop in Cache Valley? And it ends up being this, 4 million flies a year or whatever. Like, that's amazing.
Well, JC, my own family thought the same thing. They said, you're going to, what are you thinking? Because I had a lot of opportunities to stay in coaching and do coaching. And then here I have this little, basically one-room shop.
Yeah.
And people go, oh, that poor sucker, he's going to starve to death and everything. And I remember going back to West Side one day, to see him up there. And my coaches that were assistant coaches to me up there, I remember walking away from, I heard one of them say, he's selling flies? How can he do that? I feel so sorry for him. Well, about $4 million later, I don't feel so sorry for us.
Oh, that's amazing. That's unbelievable. You mentioned your family's one of the first families in Cache Valley, and so you grew up here in Cache Valley. And when did basketball become of interest to you?
Well, yeah, our family, like George Doc Nelson, is my grandmother's sister's husband. So Doc Nelson Fieldhouse, that's our family. Okay, the Renner Connect. So there's a connection there, and he used to get us tickets, so my grandpa would take me to the Aggie games in the old field house, and basically I'd get under his arm and just walk through the gate. I don't think, we ever, but man, I loved going to the games just like any kid would here now watching you, JC. You got your heroes, and, and back then it was fantastic. And then also our family owned the land where the A is up on the hill. And so they got 4 season tickets for them to allow to have the A up on the hill, and the sorority actually paid for that A. So, we have ties way back. They're actually the first, when we started building Utah State, my ancestors were the ones with the plow and the horses and level on the ground there, and also at the temple. So we have a lot of roots. In fact, they tell a story that in 1862, when the Civil War was being fought, my ancestors were building the road up Logan Canyon, the first road. So we have ties that run real, real deep. And, we just have always loved Utah State and always loved Logan. It's a part of us. I could take you up to the cemetery and show you the Smith family, but, there's Papa Smith, and then there's about 6 wives. Part of that history. But you know what? They're good people, hardworking people, and very faithful, and to me, they mean a great, great deal to me as I study my ancestors.
Former Skyview quarterback and Utah State football walk-on, Ted Stokes has established the #1 bankruptcy law firm in the state of Utah. Stokes Law's playbook is helping individuals and businesses overcome tough financial situations. If you're facing garnishment, repossession, foreclosure, or just overwhelming debt, give Stokes Law a call at 435-213-4771 or visit their website, stokesbankruptcy.com. Stokes Law is a debt relief agency and provides guidance under the United States Bankruptcy Code.
So tell us about, JC, tell us about your family, like you, siblings, brothers, sisters.
Okay, yeah, so my mom was a cook for the Ellis School, and my dad worked for Logan City on the street department, light department, and the diesel plant. And then he also worked the second job at Edgewood Hall in Providence as a farmer. So he worked 2 jobs his whole life. And then he raised us kids on Canyon Road. And I will tell you this, Canyon Road is kind of a special place because within about a 2-block area, you have Merlin and Phil Olson.
Yeah.
You have Rod Tuller. Okay, you have us. You have Jim Lobb.
Yeah.
We're all grew up right there, kind of within just a few blocks of each other in our family. So, there are a lot of ties there. I could tell you so many stories about growing up there along Canyon Road and getting in the river and catching fish with our hands and then shooting BB guns and throwing snowballs off the hill at the policeman coming down the hill and running as fast as we could up to the top to jump the fence to get to the hub, and the student center to hide. But no, we had a great time growing up with kids in Logan.
Yeah, that's crazy cool that all you guys grew up kind of right there in that same area. There was a small time at my little hometown where we had the Papinga brothers come out, Super Bowl champs.
Yeah.
And I was right on the heels of them, so we kind of had kind of some athletes coming out at that time. But, I mean, we definitely weren't as big as a Merlin Olsen.
Yeah, Phil used to play football on our front lawn, in the Sunday afternoons. Oh, yeah, sure, Orrin, his younger brother Orrin. Yeah. So, yeah, we grew up with those people, and, the Lobs, they were baseball people. Man, they had the arrowheads at the Edith Bowen School, and they were baseball guys, and so it was, it's quite a deal, you have a lot of ties.
You went to Logan High, is that right?
Yeah.
Did you play basketball there? Like, what was your sports career like in high school?
Okay, so I was a little guy, little skinny guy, and I think
Terrell High School.
yeah, well, yeah, but and I had a hard time playing, so I didn't make the team as a ninth grader. I was a manager, Joe Watts, who's a great legend in golf world. He was my ninth grade coach, but he asked me if, cut me from the team, but asked me if I want to be a manager. And so I said, sure, I just want to be, in the gym. So I'd be out there shooting before practice and doing everything, and one of the guys on the team came out and says, hey, give me the ball. You don't need to shoot. You're just the manager. So that took, I know JC knows this.
That's been rewardable. I'm a little bit actually.
Well, that can do one or two things. That can crush you.
Yeah.
Or you can turn around and say, guess what, pal?
Yeah.
Sooner or later, I'm going to get you. Well, that's the guy I beat out when we're seniors in high school. But I played as a forward. I was 6 feet, played as a forward, but I guarded the other team's best player, no matter who it was. And there was quite a few of them there that we played. I know I guarded I'm trying to think of his name, Belmont Anderson. He was the leading scorer in the state. He averaged like 35 points a game, but I didn't let anybody score more than 8 points on me the entire year.
Wow.
So I just guarded guys. So then I still wanted to play basketball, and, I averaged 8 points a game, 6 foot, basically played in the low post. So how do you do that? That's impossible. So that summer I got a job up at Utah State on the grounds crew. And so I would go before work, get up at 5, go up to the field house. It was open all the time, and I would shoot. Then I'd go to work, and then I'd hurry and eat a sandwich at lunch on my way to the field. I'd shoot at lunch. And then right after, I'd go to the field and just try to get on playing with Nate Williams and Marvin Roberts and Bob Larisky, who was a teammate of pickup games.
Yeah.
And they'd sometimes not have enough guys, so they'd let me play. Well, by the end of the summer, Nate's picking me to be on his team. Because I'm going to guard the other guy, and it's winner, make it, take it, winner, stay on, Yeah. And these other guy, hey, there's Harley Graham. He's like, I got him, and so he knew I'd pass to him too. So I played like heck, and then, I grew, and then I walked on at College of Eastern Utah as a walk-on, and by Christmas time I was starting as a point guard. So, I'd grown a little bit and became more athletic, but I'm telling you, as JC would tell you, that, you have to learn how to practice. Yeah, practice the right things and get the kind of work that you need in. And I just said to myself, like, if I shoot 500,000 shots this summer, I might become a little better shooter.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what I did. And so, I played at CEU, played there 2 years, and then was recruited pretty hard. I was first team all-conference in the ICAC. Actually played against Stu Morrow.
Oh, really?
He was at Rick's.
Yeah, Rick's.
He had Eddie Palubinskas with him that went from there to, but yeah, I guarded Eddie. But yeah, I played against him at Rick's College and then was recruited, but I decided to go to Southern Utah, and where I knew I'd really, could be a really good player, and they recruited me really hard, and I loved the area and the coach, so I went there and had 2 more great years and actually became an All-American down there. So that was kind of my playing career. I loved playing. I loved competing, and averaged 20 points a game my senior year in college. So,
JC, can I really quickly ask you 2 questions? First, I hear the names Nate Williams, Marvin Roberts, and you're in that upper echelon now with the greatest and considered one of the greatest of all time. when you hear that, like, and your name is attached to those people, like, what does that say to you? And I know you're modest about it, but like, do you have a great appreciation for what you're able to accomplish and to be able to put yourself in that echelon of people?
Oh yeah, those guys. I look up to them a lot. I look to what they did. I very much like the history of Utah State and those athletes that came through there. And yeah, sure, I'm forgetting his first name. But any chance I get to be around them, it's unbelievably cool. Rich Haas won the Hall of Fame this year, and it was really fun to be able to meet him and talk to him. And I didn't realize he was a number 20 as well. So that makes 4 number 20s at Utah State, I know. With Fish that currently wears number 20, I was number 20, Rich Haas, and then I met a gentleman that he caught me at the country club the other day. He goes, "Hey, I saw my number up there." He goes, "But they put the wrong name under it." And I thought that was pretty funny. But one of the things that sticks out about Coach Smith's journey was he said exactly right. When that guy, there's one or two things that could happen. When that kid says, "Hey, you should be shooting," it could crush you. He said, "Oh, that's right here," and you quit. Or you remember it becomes fuel to become better. And I love what you said about I just went to work. I got up in the morning, I shot baskets. I went to work, and then I went back the afternoon, I shot baskets. And then I tried to get in the gym and play with those guys. I get parents and young people that talk to me all the time right now, and it kind of goes like this. Like a parent will grab me and go, "Hey, tell my kid what he has to do to get better." And I kind of get a real serious face for a second. Like, I'll kind of laugh, but then if they keep poking, like, all right, listen. Because they're like, "Oh, you shot like 500 shots a day or something." Like, "Yeah, I did." "Well, tell my kid he has to do that." And I go, "Hold on.
Yeah.
Hey, what's your name? What'd you do today for basketball?" Nothing. I had school." "Okay, what'd you do yesterday for basketball?" Nothing. It's like, right there's a discount. I can't tell a kid to go do 500 shots when he does nothing yesterday, today, and the last time he actually touched the ball was 2 weeks ago. Like, no, your son needs to start out tomorrow. He needs to shoot 100 shots. But that's not good. Yeah, but he shot 0. That's 100 more than he shot yesterday. As soon as he gets a habit of shooting 100 shots a day for 2 or 3 weeks, then let's talk about something serious. But right now, your kid's not serious.
Right.
He's not serious about getting better. He's not going to have an opportunity because he doesn't put the time in.
There was a time when I was at Indiana, and Coach Knight brought in Jano Starker.
Okay.
Okay, he's the world's best cello player.
Okay. Yeah.
Brought him in to our team and sat him down. Now, here's all these prima donna athletes.
Yeah.
Okay, and here's a guy, just a small guy, kind of, and he's a cello player. And he went on to give the greatest talk or advice I've ever heard anybody give about practice.
Mm-hmm.
And Janos talked about, like, if you want to be the best cello player in the world, it doesn't matter about anything except for every time you hit a note, you're trying to hit that exact note.
Yeah.
And do it every single time. Mm-hmm. And he said, so you have to learn how to practice, and you have to learn how to concentrate, and you have to learn. And it's the same thing. It's like, I know that's how you learned how to play.
Yeah.
And the really, really great people, whoever that Larry Bird, holy smokes, what example he is of learn how to shoot, or whoever it is. And so to be really, really great just doesn't come by you want to be. You got to want to be, but you have to really learn how to practice. And so I think there's parallels with basketball and anything else in life, is that you have to be disciplined. Here's a little saying that we always use. I have it on my kid's wall. It says, discipline is what has to be done, when it has to be done, as well as it can be done, and then doing it that way all the time.
Amazing. Yeah, that is so great. I hope young people listen and can learn from some of this, because that's 100% what it is. What's the secret? What's the secret sauce? It's like it's not a secret.
Yeah.
We know what the formula for success is: dedicated discipline, having a plan, executing the plan every single day, even when you don't want to. Like, there's days I didn't want to go to the gym,
Sure.
but I knew I could dedicate an hour and a half of my day to the gym for shots and an hour for basketball, and I knew that the long-term effects of compounding that over time was going to put me where I wanted to be finally. And it's hard. You get some kids that get that vision, and other kids that they'll talk to me, I want to do this, I want to do this, but
Right.
they lack the daily discipline to achieve those goals.
Do you, for you and your preparation, for both of you, but especially you, when you were prepping as much as you were, 500 shots, day in and day out, morning, evening, afternoon, was it like the feeling that you could go walk on the court, even at Utah State, and be like, yeah, I'm the best player here because I have worked and prepared like that? Like, especially for you, Coach, when you're out there working your butt off playing against these guys, so you can get on the court and you can say, look, I'm the best guy here. There's no question about it. Is that all just by preparation?
Yeah, it builds confidence for sure. It builds confidence. Like, you step on the court and you go, yeah, I heard Kobe Bryant say in one of his quotes, he goes, I don't know if he's talking to Phil Jackson or not, but he said, Coach, how do I see the way these guys work? How do I trust them when I know they haven't put the work in that I have? And it was kind of his attitude, like, and there's levels to that, but yeah, by the time I got to my senior year, I was approaching 10,000 hours of practice, and this senior of high school, and I was playing against kids in high school. They only had 2,000 or 3,000 hours of practice. Like, there was a reason that I more than doubled I led the state in scoring by more than 20 points to the next guy. Like, there was a reason.
Coach, so you stepped away from your playing career and you decided to go into coaching. How did that process all come about? I know you had a cup of coffee with Skyview High School for a couple of weeks. Just tell us about the draft. You were at Westside before that, is that right? And then kind of led to Skyview. Give us that story.
So a lot of things happen to you throughout life and throughout careers, and you don't know why they do or whatever, but things evolve. But so as a senior at Southern Utah State, I had a chance to play in the pros. But I also had a little girl that was 11 months old that needed open heart surgery. Okay, and the only place I could get it done was at the Primaries Children's Hospital in Salt Lake. She had what's called disposition of the greater arteries. But anyways, a very, tough surgery. So I didn't have time to screw around. Try to go through the camps and everything, make the teams. But I had to take care of this little girl. So I knew I had to be close to Salt Lake because it was going to entail a lot of stuff. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to take the first coaching job I can get. And that it's close to my family so we can take care of this little girl. So Westside came open. Paul Jepson was there just before me. And he was a great player at Utah State and done very well. So I went up there and coached football, basketball, track, and golf, everything. I was the head football coach, head basketball coach. And so, you know what? They only had 150 students. And so I took every kid that we had in the 7th, 8th grade, and in their gym class, I would teach them basketball fundamentals. That's when I could coach them. And then I'd take every kid to play. And I know we went over and played Malad once, and there were like 20 kids in that class. One had an artificial arm, another one had an artificial leg, but they all got a uniform, and they all went on the trip.
Yeah.
And so we went over there and played Malad, beat them 85-15 because they could pass and dribble.
Yeah.
This fun. So that's where I learned how to coach. And when I got there, I said to myself, okay, by the time these kids are seniors, we're going to win the state championship. And when they were juniors, we won the state championship.
Wow.
But I said to myself, you know what? I've got to be able to teach these kids to be fundamentally and more skilled than anybody we play. As simple as that. We're not going to have to be physically better or anything,
Right.
but we got to be able to pass and shoot. So anyway, we won a couple of state championships there, and then took a job at Bear River and was there for a couple of years, and took a job at Skyview and was there for 2 weeks. And I got a call from Coach Knight. They had just won the NCAA with Isaiah Thomas and those guys. And one of his assistant coaches went as a head coach at George Washington University, Jerry Gimbelstoff. And Coach Knight said, I want you to come to Indiana as an assistant coach.
How did you get to know Coach Knight before? I'm so sorry.
Okay, I'll tell you in just a second. But he said, I want you to come as an assistant coach, and I'm telling you, I'm not asking you. So I got it all set for you. Your family will have a thing there, and we'll move you out here in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So how does all that happen? Did I answer to your question?
Hey, you looking for something fun to do this summer? How about you go to Bridgeland Adventure Park, located in Garden City, Utah. Bridgeland Adventure Park has all sorts of adventures from ages 2 to 92. A 4-levels ropes course with 73 events, a giant swing, a 450-foot-long zip line, or get on a tube and head down the 350-foot slide. They're also accepting business corporate groups. You and your office want to get out of the daily grind? Sick of staring at your computer for 8 hours a day? Well, bring the company over to Bridgeland Adventure Park. Enjoy some delicious food, a snow cone, a fun time with your coworkers, and lasting memories. Bridgeland Adventure Park is located at 722 South First Light Drive in Garden City, Utah. For more information and questions, go to blap.rocks. That's BLAP.rocks.
You know, how do you go from basically Logan, Utah, you know, as an assistant coach when there's thousands of guys, a lot of former players, a lot of former, assistant coaches everywhere that want to go there as an assistant. So how does that happen to me? Yeah. I'm not sure. But so here's how I met Coach Knight. There was a clinic in Salt Lake at the Hilton, and it was for basketball coaching. You know what they are, JCs. So anyway, he was the headliner and had 800 coaches there. And they're, head coaches from universities, junior college coach, all kinds of high school coaches, foreign coaches, everything there. And he's doing this clinic. And if you ask a dumb question, he'd really jump all over you. That's the dumbest damn question he ever asked me. And so everyone's hesitant to ask him a question. And there I am. I'm just 22, 23 years old. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to ask him. So I rose my hand and I said, how did you defend Herb Williams in the Big Ten championship game? Could you tell how you defended him? I noticed you were not guarding this guy and you were kind of fronting. What really? And he goes, how do you know this? And I said, well, I just trying to learn how to play defense. Yeah. You're the best defensive coach. So I've just tried to study what you're doing. He goes, well, that's a really good question. For the next hour, he went into all the ways to defend the post. Don't guard a shooter. Front him with your big guy, get backside help. Deny the reverse pass. Play halfway in and out. Really get into the feeder. Get on the high side, get on the low, take away his left shoulder, switch the high cut, take away the low cut, all the ways that you can defend the post. So he went through this and it was really, really great. And then he says, I want that young guy that asked me a question come see me after the clinic.
Wow.
And so I kind of saw Say up there and all these college coaches around him and everything. And anyway, I finally get to him and I said, Mr. Knight, and he says, hey, I just want to tell you that was a really good question. It's one of the best questions I've been asked. As a clinician, he says, that place to get ice cream? He loved ice cream. And I'm like, well, yeah. He says, let's go. And I go, Coach, look, I got this old beat-up pickup. I mean, you could see the floor. You could see the highway through the floor. I'm coaching at West Side, for heck's sakes, and he says, I don't care, let's go. So I'm driving up and down State Street in Salt Lake with Bobby Knight in my old pickup. I mean, it's great trying to find a Baskin Robbins. And so I had a box of flies sitting on my dash. And he goes, and he's looking at him, and he goes, what? I says, oh, I fly fish. He says, well, I'm going to fly fish. I'm going to meet Norm Ellenberger up on the Madison River. Now, Norm Ellenberger was the coach at New Mexico. Storm Norman Ellenberger, legendary coach. And he said, we're going to go fly fish the Madison. So I said, well, I've been fly fishing that river since I could walk. I said, let me give you some flies. And so we're in Baskin Rum, and I'm writing a little map out, go to the $3 bridge, go drive down here and put $3 underneath your windshield, and the rancher will let you park there, and then go down. So he's like, really? I said, yeah, just trust me. Just put $3 on it. So now it's known as $3 bridge, but
So cool.
so anyway, he ends up calling me every night. Hey, we just had a great time on the mat. You got another place. So I tell him another place. And I'm there coaching, my assistant coach, my football coaches at Westside, like, hey, Bobby Knight's calling. He goes, oh, yeah, sure. I said, no, really, he really is.
He's the biggest guy in college basketball.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's bigger?
Yeah.
What's more important?
Yeah, exactly. And so this kind of evolves, and so then I don't hear anything. At Christmas time comes 4 big boxes, and they're full of game films, Super 8 game films, and training films. And he just a little note. He says, I know you like to study what we're doing. I thought you'd enjoy these. So I thank him or everything. So I'll be go to heck the next summer. But Dale Anderson calls me and says, hey, I don't know what's going on, but Bobby Knight said that he'll come speak at my camp. But the only way he'll do it is if you'll take him fly fishing. So Liddell says, can you, and so I said, well, yeah, and so we go to camp. And so Bobby comes in and speaks at the morning on Sunday or whatever. And so I have to take him fly fishing for the week. We go up to Idaho, Montana, Wyoming. And he's like, now you make sure Liddell pays you now. He's paying you for camp. If he doesn't pay me, you tell me. So I'm getting paid for camp. All my buddy, what the heck's going on, And him and I are going fishing up through Montana. So that's kind of how we met. And then it evolved. It's relationships. I went back, worked his camp. For 5 years, he's out. We're going everywhere. He say, hey, call this rancher, see if we can get on. Call this guy. We call this guy. And in fact, when he got into trouble in Puerto Rico, the State Department was there. He called me. He says, hey, can you pick me up at the airport? And I said, well, yeah. And so he says, okay, I don't tell anybody. And so, so I pick him up. He got his big hat on and sunglasses and everything. We get out of there, and he goes, hey, he says, and so I'm answering all these phone calls, everything, but State Department's looking for him, because they want to, try to get him back to Puerto Rico. But we're doing, so, I handled things like that, and then he's like having me recruit for him, but it's fishing place.
Yeah.
But then, he would get mad at something, he'd lose a reel or fall in or something, just go through some big tirade. And I just kind of look at him, so he knew I could handle him. And so that's okay, but let's just go fishing, And so it evolved into a real kind of a personal relationship. So when he needed an assistant coach, they won the NCAA, he just called me and said, I want you to come. But, he said to me once, he said this. He said, if you can coach, you can coach. Now, he says, I know you're going to work really hard at it, and you got to pay really, because we don't have Bear River on our schedule. We don't have Evanston, Wyoming on our schedule now. We're going to play North Carolina and Michael Jordan. And so, everything was amplified to the highest level, and of course, everything was, really scrutinized. You had, we were number one in the nation every year at some point in time. and then plus had the Olympic team in 1984. And so right in the middle of it, a lot of pressure. And every game was not just a game, it was war.
Yeah.
You unearthed every rock, you looked under, you found every detail. I know when we played North Carolina, I had Michael Jordan and Kenny Smith and the Dohertys and those guys, and we beat them. But I had the game preparation for that game, and I had charted every possession they played the entire year, every possession. How many times they did it, and that was before technology.
Yeah, this is Coach Dean Smith.
Yeah.
His coaching.
Yeah, Dean Smith.
He's an absolute legend and a mastermind on his own.
Yeah.
Like, it's not easy to chart all of them.
Well, and the walkthroughs, kind of the pressure you're under. So the walkthrough, in fact, actually, during that week that we're preparing to play him, Coach Knight has Mike Krzyzewski on the phone, who played for him.
Yep. Yeah.
And he's at Duke, and he's asking him about a certain thing. And I said to Coach Knight, I said, that's not right.
Yeah.
He goes,
gutsy.
What do you mean? He said, I'm just telling you that's not right. He said, I'll show you.
Yeah.
And I showed him, and he says, geez, how does Mike not? I said, but, how does a guy like me question Mike?
Yeah.
Well, that isn't it. We're in a war. I mean, we're going to do what we know is right, no matter who says what it is. Yeah. But the walkthroughs, Pete Newell would be there, Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
In the 1960 Olympics, and Hall of Famer at Cal, Henry Ibu was there, Oklahoma State, Johnny Bench is there, John Havlicek's there, Dick Vitale's there, all these guys, Billy Packer, they're watching our walkthrough in preparation for the game. So now me, as an assistant, I'm taking them through every way that they do the lobs to Michael Jordan, every way that they get the ball in the pole, every way they do it, how they run their run and jumps. I'm walking our guys through everything, and then the film and everything else. So there's no room for mistakes. Yeah. There's just too much on the line. And we ended up beating them. That's the game that Dan Dockage says, well, held Michael Jordan 8 points. Well, he didn't hold Michael Jordan 8 points. Our team held him to that.
Yeah.
And also Dean Smith held him to that because he sat him out too long. And all he had to do was say, Michael, you guard Steve Alford.
Yeah.
And Alford doesn't score a point.
Yeah.
But they did all this. So anyway, that stuff all evolves. But, it's crazy. The amount of pressure and everything that you're in then is really, it's hard to explain, but then the what you get out of it, at the end when you've done something pretty good is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's a famous, I don't know if it's a joke or it was a quote, but, it was, how do you keep Michael Jordan under 20 points? Or who could do it? Like, Coach Smith was one of the kids that were 20 points. Like, it was fun for us.
Right. Yeah.
But, I want to talk more about your, coaching there at Indiana and the years you were there, but we brought Michael Jordan. So, he was a number 2 draft pick. I mean, you guys knew, like, he was special at that time, right?
Yeah, so with the Olympic team in 84, we had Patrick Ewing, Sam Perkins, Chris Mullen, all these guys who were all ended up all being NBA All-Stars.
Pop quiz, you know who they cut? The 2 players that became Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
John Stockton and Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't know the John Stockton because I read John Stockton's book.
Yeah. Stockton was actually Coach Knight really wanted to keep him.
Yeah.
And Digger Phelps and all these guys who were on the selection committee and everything, they had all these, and I was in the room with them, so I know, but they're like, hey, you got to keep Steve Alford. He's your player. You have to keep him. And he was a great shooter.
Yeah.
I mean, he actually set records for shooting in the Olympics. And see, we're playing against 3-2 zones. That's what every European, and so for 2 years, we're preparing to play against a 3-2 zone.
Yeah.
So guess what? So here's the zone offense. You got Chris Mullen on one wing, Sam Perkins on the other wing, they're two of the best 3-point shooters in the whole college. And, you know, Sam Perkins is 6'10".
Yeah, he was.
And Mullins is just a great shooter. Okay, then you got Patrick Ewing playing behind his own on the baseline, 7'1", quick as a cat. Can just play the short corner in the baseline. Michael Jordan in the middle at the free throw line. Steve Alford at the point. Steve Alford didn't hardly miss a shot in Olympics.
Yeah.
You know, so he didn't have to do anything but just, get the ball. And Michael's going to dunk it, so we won every game by 40 points. So, you go back and say, well, Stockton should have been on that team. We would love to have him on that team. He would have been great on the – but at the time, he wasn't as good a shooter as Alford. And that's Bobby's player, too, And so so there are things that – like, another player that didn't make is Karl Malone.
Oh.
And I actually took Karl Malone fishing. And he said, I said, Karl, I was there. You go, yeah. And I said, Karl, you had the chicken pox. You couldn't come to the trials.
Yeah.
You probably would have made it. You could. That's why you didn't make it. Yeah, you're right. So.
But even on that roster, who do you take off of it? Like, I mean, as good as John Stockton was, you tell us that roster, and I think there's no way John Stockton could have replaced it.
Well, you talk about Zona. For a year, what was your Zona? It was so good against the 3-2 zone. That's it. That's the players. The shooter. Every one of them could shoot like heck.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they could all guard. We had a lot of good
players. And you were out. So you have a gold medal.
Yeah. Well, I had a replica of the gold medal. It actually was stolen out of my office at Utah State.
Oh.
Yeah. But anyway, what happens with gold medals? See, they didn't give them to coaches.
Okay.
They just give them to the players.
Yes.
Coaches didn't get them. And then our staff actually coached the Olympic team for 6 weeks prior to the Olympics. But the rules were at that time that in order to be an assistant coach at the games, you had to be a head coach. So C.M. Newton was one of them.
Yep.
Don Donaher was one of them. Okay, and George Ravelin.
Yeah.
But our staff trained them.
Yeah.
The motion offense, how to do everything. But I was at the Olympics and did everything that way. But
how much different was it? Because, I've heard the Chuck Daly story. Like, I never coached. I never called a play. I never called a timeout. Like, they were just going to do what they wanted. We're going to win by 50. How much coaching, knowing it's you and Bobby Knight and those guys, did you guys actually do with Michael Jordan?
Actually, a great, great deal of coaching.
They're college kids at this point.
Hey, I'm telling you, we work on them. In fact, one of the toughest practices that we had prior to the Olympics was the day of the NBA draft.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking around, first round, millions. And Coach Knight's like, okay, they're gonna still shovel some shit today. And so it was a really, really tough practice. But in answer to that, so in the gold medal game, going to play Spain. And Coach Knight would always go in a little room and kind of, before the game. And he was a great patriot.
Yeah.
And studied the wars and said Patton was a big hero of his. And all these, but anyway, so you wonder what he's going to say to the team about playing for America, playing for the United States, and representing the United States. What an honor that truly, truly is. You walk in the locker room and there's a piece of yellow steno paper tacked up on the chalkboard. Coach Knight walks up to it, reads it, turns around the players, said, "Let's go."
Huh.
Well, you know what it said? "Coach, we've put up with too much of your shit to lose now." The players. Michael Jordan wrote that. Yeah, Coach, don't worry. We put up with it to lose now. And so, how do you say?
That's unbelievable. And that you say that, like, as you watch The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, like, that was something he kind of did. I remember he talks about putting his arm around Doug Collins and saying, "Hey,
We're not going to lose.
We're not going to lose your first game. I got it. Like, relax. Like, he's sweating through his stuff.
But what a joy as a coach to have these kind of competitors. You know, Michael was. They asked why was he so good. Well, first of all, he is the most talented athlete you've ever seen. I mean, his hands and his quickness and run and jump, and he'd do something in practice every day. And he'd turn to one other, say, "Did you just see that?"
Yeah.
You know, and because he'd drive baseline, and you think, "Oh, he's in trouble." You're just like, "Wow!" And he'd jump sideways and lay it in some way, and get, wow. But
I'm so sorry, Coach. Could he ever get after, could Coach Knight, who is the most critical coach of any player, could he ever get after Michael Jordan during practice? Or could you,
oh, yeah.
I'm trying to find something wrong with this dude, and I can't.
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Just pushed them into being really good. And let all those guys, hey, it was just the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those guys that want to be great, they want to be coached. They want to be told what to do better. Like, hey, and they'll take it. And they'll learn from it. They'll be better. Like, real, true, great players, they live for that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And, we had some really tough practice in the games. One of the greatest games, or things that through that whole Olympic team, was we played a exhibition game with NBA All-Star games. So there's 6 of them prior to the Olympics. So we had one in Indianapolis in July. 68,000 people in July come to this exhibition game before we go to the Olympics. So I went into the NBA locker room because Isaiah Thomas was and then Larry Bird was from French. Let's just say hi, but Larry Bird's grabbing guys and pushing them up against the wall. We're not losing these guys. I'm tired of hearing this shit about these college players, but so their starting lineup was this. Now, this is what I'm saying is really probably the biggest game or thing. It was a combo. So they had Kevin McHale and Parrish as the inside guys.
Yep.
Larry Bird is one forward. Okay. Magic Johnson is one guard, and Isaiah Thomas is the other.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I mean, they're motivated because we'd already beaten 4 all-star teams. NBA All-Star. They're tired of this shit,
Yeah.
That's in there. 68,000 people. If that doesn't motivate you, what the?
Oh, yeah.
So they're like, oh, geez, I wonder how this is going to go, But I go into our locker room, and Michael's in there. And you wonder how he can't wait to get on the court.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a new sheriff in town. You've heard that? Yeah. I can't, couldn't wait to get on. And so the other players are like, geez, Michael, and he's like, hey, and they go out there and they're running motion off it. They're cutting and they beat them by 15.
Yeah.
Beat the NBA and, the team defense. So what you're saying is you either played defense and played team as Olympic, or you didn't play.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the motivator. You either do it or you're not going to play. There's not about, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that. And then getting them all to know that they each have their job. And like I said, every rock's unturned. You have a responsibility. You have a responsibility. And, man, I'm not going to let my teammates down. I'm not going to let my university down. And I'm not going to let the United States down.
Yeah. And that's awesome. And we did see, the dream team that you talked about. Yeah, that was a whole another thing. But then we did see our Team USA get into the 2000s, 2002s, and we lost Olympics.
Yeah.
I had teammates that were gold medalists in those Athens Olympics when Team USA didn't win. And we went into that kind of thinking we could just out-talent people, one-on-one people, and the world was playing team basketball, passing, cutting, team defense, and our Team USA's head was spinning a little bit. But, yeah, Andres Nocioni was on that team, Luis Escola.
Osorio.
Puerto Rico. For Puerto Rico, these are Argentinian players. Argentina won gold.
Was Ginobili on that team? Is he?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Ginobili. All those guys. So, and I got to play with a few of them in Europe. So that's, team basketball goes a long ways.
I know. I'm so old that I'm dating you guys with these names and everything, but, hope somebody recognizes them. But they were the last amateur basketball team. After that, the pros could play.
All right.
And so they're the original dream team, and it's really special to all of us who were involved in it.
I want to ask about, because we all know Coach Knight was pretty competitive, and if I remember right, if I heard right, you were pretty competitive too. Did you guys ever have competitive things? Did you guys challenge each other? Do you have stories about that? Or
Well, I worked for him, and I always knew that I worked for him.
Yeah.
So I totally respected him for that. But yeah, there were times when we bumped heads. In fact, I will tell you a fun story, and I call it the tennis game. But so we had a huge basketball camp in the summer, 800 kids a week, 50 coaches. And Coach Knight didn't want to have anything to do with it other than he'd come in and speak. So guess who runs the camp? Me. So I'm responsible for it. So there's a lot of organization and everything. So we're down on a field house where we had 9 courts all set up and everything ready, and it's the day before camp. And here comes Tim Garl, our manager, down, and he says, "Hey, Coach wants you." And I said, "What does he want?" He says, "He wants to play tennis." So now Joby Wright and Royce Waltman, the other 2 assistant coaches.
Joby Wright.
Yeah.
Yeah. He coached at the University of Wyoming.
Right.
Yeah. I know that name. I got a Joby Wright, Coach Joby Wright T-shirt somewhere.
There you go. But anyway, they're like, "Okay, Kohn, now this be cool. We got 5 weeks of camp, which means you let him win."
Yeah.
No matter. Okay. So things go good because he is so competitive, and I don't care what you're doing, he's going to try to win no matter what, whoever it is. So anyway, we go out to this house. We called it Wimbledon, but it was a multi-millionaire's house with a court that was just like Wimbledon's. Swimming pool, and just as posh as it can be. And we're playing tennis. And I get up 4 games, and then he's really getting ticked. Okay, and so I throw the next 6th game, and he wins 6-4. So now he's all proud of himself. So we go back to Assembly Hall. We go in the cave. And we're in there, and the coaches are in there, and Steve Downing comes in, who was a great played against Bill Walton when they played UCLA, but he comes in, and he played for the Celtics for a long time, and we're sitting there, and he says, the coach said, "Oh, you guys been playing tennis?" "Yeah." And Coach Knight says, "Yeah." He says, "After I got going, I just kicked Kohn's ass." So boy, did that tick me off. So Coach leaves the room, and I said to Royce, I said, "That is the last time I'm letting that somebody win." And said, "Oh, no, So the next day, we had camp starting at 2, and here we're down there getting everything ready, all the cards ready. And here comes Garl down again. "Hey, Coach wants you." "Was it? He wants to play tennis." Royce said, "Joey got me by the car. Now, hey, you got to be cool, man. You got to be cool. Just be so." I said, "I'm not letting that somebody win a point." No, you can't, So we get playing. We go out to Wimbledon, and I don't let him hardly win a point. And he is getting ticked. Now, we got these rackets that Ivan Lendl gave us to Adidas at the Olympics. Actually, his same racket. And so, Coach, I beat him like the first set, and he's all ticked. And I said, "Hey, we got to go back to camp." "I don't give it about camp. Serve him up. Serve him up." So I'm walking back to the surf, and he's hitting balls at me. They're winging it. So I turn around and I look at him, and he's hot. Boy, he is hot. So now I'm like, okay, somebody. So I serve him one, and he hits it straight sideways. That's, just all intimidation deal. And so I'm like, okay. So I end up just playing like heck. He breaks both of his rackets. So now he's got nothing to play with. So I go sit down on the bench to the side, okay, and he goes around to the pool. And so, because I don't want to be close to him, And all of a sudden I hear this splashing and crashing. Oh my, he's throwing all the furniture in the pool, and so I go around there, and he's in the pool, fully dressed, and all I can see is his hat on top of his head, arms folded, and he's just steaming, So I walk over, get a drink out of the pool house, just sit on a chair. All of a sudden, he starts hitting the water. He's splashing the water as hard as he can. He's beating the water, swearing, cussing. And then he says, you don't understand. I don't have any family life. I can't concentrate. You don't understand. And he's just yelling and screaming. And so, let's go. And he jumps up and he's soaking wet. He just got a brand new Lincoln Continental that, it was brand new, just came off the lot. Didn't have 10 miles on it. And jumps in there. And I have to kind of jump in as he's screeching out of and through the neighborhood, and I'm like, holy smokes, we're going to kill somebody, And actually, while these games were going on, as he's yelling and screaming, we're playing you could see neighbors in their houses around. There's like this crowd gathers around this guy. So we go screaming back to Assembly Hall, and he's pounding on the dash as we're going, get out. So I basically get thrown out of the car, And so, holy smoke. So he leaves. The sad thing about it, he left there, went right to an attorney, and filed for divorce.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. But that had been building up.
Yeah, it wasn't, yeah.
No, but I'm just trying to show you what kind of a situation you're in there that you got to deal with, So now camp goes, it was awful. For the first couple, he's coming in. Look, there's fingerprints on that bankboard. Can't anybody do anything?
Yeah.
And he's just, and Royce and Joey want to kill me. They're like, And then after a couple weeks, he's like, come on. So I go with them. We get in his car, and he drives all around back roads of Bloomington. He said, sometimes I hurt the guys I love the most. Because I'm really sorry. And, I just went about my business.
Yeah.
Just ran camp, did as well as we can, went about it. But, there comes a line with your own self,
Mm-hmm.
and your own competitiveness. Yeah, I probably should have let him win. But you know what?
Yeah, I mean,
but
you got to build a...
Yeah, but you know what? That's why he respected me.
Yeah.
He knew he couldn't intimidate me with anything. And when something really tough went down, he'd always come and say, hey, what do you think? We played, when we won the national championship in 1987, we played Vanderbilt right before Christmas.
Yeah.
We're 10-0. We'd beaten Louisville, Kentucky, Notre Dame, 10-0, number one in the country. So we go to play Vanderbilt, and I scouted the game. And he's like, okay, will you? I said, hey, they got a really good center.
Mm-hmm.
And what's his name? I says, his name's Will Perdue. And he goes, I've seen him. He's a stiff. I said, wait a minute. I said, he might have been a stiff, but he isn't now. Well, Will Perdue played 15 years in the NBA.
Yeah.
Played for the Bull. And I said, and he got a really good little shooter named Barry Kohn, the left-handed shooter.
Yeah.
And he could light it up, boy. And so we get playing Vanderbilt, and actually get on the plane. We're going down there, and so we had our own private plane. So I sit across from Coach, out at the front of the plane. He looks back, and there's a little giggling in the back of the plane. And so I look up at Coach. He kind of looks up. He's got this book, Lincoln Finds a General. He's reading. I'll never forget this book. And I said, you want me to say something? And he goes, nah, hell, let him go. He says, we're 10-0.
Yeah.
So we get down there playing Vanderbilt, and we're up like 11. right before the half, and Joe Hillman goes in and kind of gooses up a shot off the board and misses it, which put us up 13, maybe even 15.
Yeah.
Kohn comes back, hits 3 straight threes. So we go in the locker room, we're just up 1 or 2. So goes back and forth. Will Purdue just pounds Dean Garrett, gets like 19 rebounds or whatever, and Barry Kohn scores 27 points against Steve Alford.
Yeah.
Who's an Olympian.
Yeah.
And so we go home, in the plane, every 5 minutes, it seemed like he's slamming that Lincoln Finds a General book together, walking down and just chewing somebody out. Yes, and all the players are trying to not make any eye contact, hitting the side of the plane, everything. In fact, Ricky Calloway says, hey, I got to thank the pilots, at the banquet, because sometimes the storm was inside the plane. So anyway, we get back, and we always went to the I-men's room. It's a special letterman's room. And we get back there, it's about midnight, and he tells the players that they're off the training table. They're going to get their own food. No manager's allowed to do anything.
Yeah.
6 a.m. practice. Means you got to get taped and everything at 5. So, and they're off. So anyway, we practice. Now this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We play North Carolina, Wilmington. But so I'll back up just a little. After the game, we're going to the locker room, and outside the door is USA Today, ESPN, all the major things. And so Coach goes in the locker room. Alford, you couldn't lead anybody, just ripping them. And he says, all you care about is playing cards. I want a card game going right now. Deal them up. So he has to go. I got to go out and talk. So he has to go out and talk to the media. There better be a card game. So he kicks us out. We're in the room next door. We can hear there's a wire cage up, and the players in there, okay, and they're dealing cards. And so then he comes back in, throws the cards, says, Alfred, I want a cheer going. You'll go back now and you'll beat North Carolina, Wilmington, everybody will pat you on the rear and tell you how great you are, and you can't beat anybody that's any good. And so he says, I want a cheer going. Lead them up. Go IU, beat North Carolina, Wilmington. So now they're louder, I can't hear you, And so they're yelling this, and these people outside are like, what the heck is going on? What is this cheer, And so then he's like, all right, plane's lit, we're leaving. Fine. They got to grab their stuff. No shower, nothing. Just grab your stuff. Get on the plane, and so we're headed back. We get back there, calls a 6 a.m. practice. Well, it's every torture drill you can do.
Yeah.
Jump, take the charge, loose ball drills, everything like that. So we do that, and they have 8 o'clock classes. Anybody misses classes, they're off the team. They can't miss class. Come back, 2 o'clock practice, same thing.
Yeah.
Come back. Now, our assistant coaches, we're not allowed to do anything. They can prepare themselves for the game. They don't care. They don't know, appreciate anything that's being done. Come back, 7 o'clock practice, 3 times a day.
Wow.
Monday, they're kicked out of the locker room. They got to dress in the hallway. Okay. Only IU players can dress. Any guys that care about winning can. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we practice twice in the morning. We play that night, Wilmington.
Yeah.
Okay. So Hillman hits a shot at the buzzer for us to win against the Wilmington IU Classic.
Wow.
And so we always played the first game, and the second game, I think it was Auburn or somebody's playing the second game. And so we, assistant coach, go out to scout. Here comes a manager, say, hey, coach wants you. So I turned to Joby and Royce. I said, you guys might never see me again, but I'm going to tell them what I think.
Yeah.
So I get in this car. We drive out of the tunnel underneath. Then we drive around the back streets. And, normally when you say something, he starts pounding the dashboard, screaming. But we go for quite a while, and he finally says, Brigham, that's what he called me, Brigham, because I'm a Mormon now. He goes, Brigham, what do you think? And I said, Coach, you don't want to know what I think. He said, no, I really do. And I said to him, I says, when you were at Ohio State and you run a national championship team with Havlicek, Siegfried, Lucas, and those guys at Ohio State, I said, what did you enjoy the most? He said, going to the movie the night before the game with my teammates.
Huh.
And I said, you know what we do the night before the game? We watch film till we can't see straight.
Yeah.
I said, we all got the point.
Yeah.
Players got the point. We all got the point. And these are really good guys, and they'll do anything, but they got to know you care about them.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of went about that. And so he said, let's go back, get them in there. The players, they're gone. Okay? They're gone because so now the managers got to find them. There's 12 managers, so they go up and they find them. They get them back in the locker room, and they think we're going to practice.
Right, yeah.
And I remember walking in there, and it looked like the Baton Death March. They had no color in their face. They got floor burns and everything on their knees and bruises just from pounding each other for a week. And they're just sitting there with no emotion. And he starts into telling them about practicing and not let somebody take something special away from you.
Mm-hmm.
And what it really means to be really good and what it means to him. And he was in tears.
Yeah.
Talking. And geez, I'm telling you, it's like this switch went on, and all of a sudden the blood's coming back into the players. And I wish I had it because it was the greatest motivational thing I've ever seen. But so he said, okay, look, we're going to play Auburn, and they're really good. He says, but not doing anything. He says, you just come back and we'll play like hell and beat the hell out of them. And the players won by 25.
Wow.
So we go the rest of the year, and I think we lost at Michigan. They had the Twin Towers and once at Purdue. But then we won the NCAA. But every kid from that point on, preparation was great.
Yes.
Everybody knew when it came time to getting ready to play, there's no screwing around. We're getting ready to play. And so, they end up being really, really great. We ended up beating Syracuse, had 5 pros. They had Sherman Douglas and Derek Coleman and Howard Trish and those guys. And we beat them for the national championship on the last second shot. Keith Smart. I saw Keith. He was an assistant coach in the NBA for a long time, and went down to see the Jazz play one day, and he came in. I always sat on courtside by Larry Miller, and he came in and saw me. He just came right over, hugged me, and I said, Keith, and we talked. I said, you remember Vanderbilt? He goes, oh yeah. He said, raw blood brother, But see, that's kind of the Indiana thing. We didn't want to be like everybody else.
Right.
The players didn't want to be. They were okay with getting their hair cut and looking like a club, and being and proud that they went to class and proud that they were successful after. So to me, that's Bobby. Now you can take all the other stuff, and of course, there's a lot of things we don't agree with.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of things that are really special.
Yeah, and he was a general. Like, you kind of ended up going there, and that's kind of the expectation. You were going to be different. You were going to be held to a higher standard, from the striped warm-up pants and all that kind of stuff that's so iconic to see in those videos. And Coach Knight, my dad loved Coach Knight and everything he did and studied Coach Knight. So I grew up kind of watching that and seeing all that kind of stuff. But his criticism he gets, we all know some of the famous things where he did cross the lines, but that hard-nosed coaching thing, like, it wasn't is strictly unique to him at that time.
No,
In that era, I mean, it was across college basketball.
Yeah.
I played with Duke players that they talk about Coach K.
yeah,
You know, he's talking about kicking him out of the gym.
right.
I now know where Coach K got that.
Yeah.
You know, my Duke teammates, they're like, we lost on the road. We came back. All of our gear was thrown in the middle of the quad. Our locker room was emptied out. And
Yeah.
he said, you're not allowed in that gym because you don't deserve to wear a Duke uniform.
Right.
He went to Dick's Sporting Goods, got him these reversibles, and they practiced at the rec center for the next 5 or 6 days until they won and deserved to be back at Duke. So that style of coaching was very much that era.
Yeah.
Sure. It wasn't just a Coach Knight thing. It was that.
Well,
Those other guys kept that stuff behind closed doors a little better than Coach Knight did.
right. You were part of something, and you knew was very special.
Yeah.
Really hard. But yet, then it's like this isn't for the weak.
No.
If you're weak, you're not going to be part of this. Because if you get your feelings hurt, I used to tell players, like, listen to what he's telling you,
Yeah.
not how he's telling you.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. Stu Morrill, he was great, but he was a disciplinarian, and I have all the respect in the world for him on how he made you guys play the way he wanted you to play and play to win, and and I think you all respect it now when you're trying to do the things you do in life. But God, we've become so soft.
Yeah.
And it's to a fault, really. And I know none of them could coach now because the cameras are and everybody, you're dehumanized, you do that.
Yeah.
Well, when you're out there playing, guy that you're playing against is pretty strong.
Yeah.
He's pretty tough. And, you can't pat him on the sides and go after a rebound. You got to knock him down.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, you're right with like Coach Morrill. All us guys, the former players that played under Coach Morrill and did our 4 years with him. We bought into that. We loved it. Ty Wesley talks all the time about, he had a dad that was kind of a good dad and a strict disciplinarian, and Coach Morrill provided that structure for him through his college days when he wasn't with his dad. And yeah, there's such a brotherhood for us that I'm not gonna say that we endured it. Like I love Coach Morrill, and so do most of my teammates. But we went through that together. We went through those fights together. There's a real brotherhood.
Absolutely.
So and coaches, they have to be different. They have to be a little bit more cheer you on, positive reinforcement, and it's harder to get that guy that's gonna get in your face and really get after you and challenge you.
Oh, you don't like it.
Yeah, no, you don't like
it at all.
Hey, Bill's session with Coach Morrill was not fun.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, please don't look at me. And so I can't imagine it would be like, watching with Coach Knight until you couldn't see anymore. I mean, I know it's always uncomfortable because you could freeze that video.
Yeah.
And you look like you're the worst spy. Like if you just wait like half a second, I'm there. But that's the point. Like, you're supposed to be there now. You're not. And you're just like, please.
Learning how to be really good.
But it's interesting because you look at how these players turned out. Like I look at how JC turned out and how successful you are after basketball. The way coaching, he wasn't sugarcoating with you because you were JC Carroll.
No.
Up to your senior year, I think he was just as hard on you.
Just as hard. But and the only reason that we got less was because he had other people that screwed up more.
Yeah.
No, my senior year, I tell a story all the time. We had a play famously called dribble.
Love that.
It's anyone that comes to Utah State runs that play. And it's not for a two-guard to shoot. I'm the leading scorer in the West Athletic Conference. I come off to the corner. My guy falls down at the block. I'm wide open. I'm the best three-point shooter in the history of Utah State. I shoot it through. I make it. Get him out. I get subbed out. JC, this is not for you to shoot. But he fell down. He goes, ifs and buts were candy nuts, we'd all have Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
You throw that to Nate Harris. You throw that to whoever's coming about. That's for play for him. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
There we go. I mean, it never. Yeah. And that's what made him so good. He would not, and these type of coaches would not let you get away with not doing it the correct way.
And go ahead. Sorry, Coach.
Well, I would say this about Stu Moore and watching him over the years. His offense was ran better than anybody in the whole NCAA.
Really?
The exactness, the precision, the timing, the discipline with it. And so you could try to defend it, but there were options and everything. But he had the ability, and it was devised really well. I mean, and I don't know where he came up with everything, but devised really well. But he had the ability to have his players do exactly what he wanted.
Before I go on with my point, you're so well respected by so many people, and to hear you reverently speak the way you do about Stu Morrill, I can kind of just hear your appreciation for him as a coach and the way he did things on and off the court.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just, he was able to do what he did at Utah State because he was very good. He was a very good coach, and good person, and really disciplined. I mean, that's for sure. You don't always agree with everything, but that's all of us. That's it. But for Utah State, he was great, and gave players like JC a chance.
Well,
And guys like me were always grateful for those kind of things. And you look back, and there are people throughout your whole life that's going to give you a chance to do something. You got to take opportunity and do it.
Yeah. It's interesting. We were talking about coaches being hard on players and being successful. Another guy I think of is Steve Alford. And I know you know Steve Alford really well, and he was not given any sort of a leash of sugarcoat or anything. He's going to coach him hard, and I see Coach Alford now in Nevada and the great success he's having. My only interaction with Coach Alford, not a great one. We had a game inside the Spectrum. I'm sitting at the scoreboard table. Someone at the scoreboard table stands up and interacts in a not a good way with their coaching staff. I think you know what I'm talking about. And I have to grab this individual's arm and pull them down and sit them down. I'm like, hey, don't say another word. Coach Alford looks dead eye at me, and he's like, you better sit his ass down. I'm going to come over there. And I was like, oh, my gosh, I'm going to die. That's Steve Alford. Like, he's yelling at me. And ran in to call one of the great officials. He's running by. He thought Steve Alford was yelling at him. So he puts his whistle in his mouth, and he's about to tee him up. As we go back to the other side of the court, Randy's like, why are you yelling at me? And Steve's like, no, I'm yelling at them over there. And he looks at me and goes, you tell him to shut his mouth. And I was like, okay, yeah, coach. I was just sweating bullets. But you watch Coach Alford and the way he coaches, and you think that's a guy who is coached by Bobby Knight. He coaches discipline and respect.
Well, Steve is he's really a good person.
Oh, yeah.
I love him to death. He came in as a freshman when I was at Indiana, so I was with him all the years and through the Olympics and NCAA, so I have great respect for him. And, when they come to play, and Logan's like, Coach, you got, and, 6'8", ticks, but he puts me right on their back.
I see you all the time.
I'm like, Steve, good night. What do you do? But you know what? I have to do it. I mean, he played for me. I love him as a brother, really, and we've been through the wars, like you say, and those are things that are, everybody can get mad at me if they want, feel I'm disloyal or whatever, but I like both teams.
No, I think, well, Aggie Nation's not a big fan of Steve Alford. I think after a comment he made after the season where he said, well, the Aggies didn't come to Lawler Event Center and play us, and that's why they're the Mountain West champs. And it was, well, you know how Aggie fans are. They can get sensitive sometimes. God bless them.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask, how did you end up as the head coach at Utah State? How were you able to escape Bobby Knight, I guess?
Well, so I had a young family, and being in Indiana, like, there's things like this, like Thanksgiving, Coach would call me and say, hey, I want to go hunting. So I'd have to leave my family and go hunting grouse down in southern Indiana. So Thanksgiving dinner at our house wasn't until I got home, which would be 9 o'clock at night or whatever.
Yeah.
Christmas Day. We'd practice twice on Christmas Day. I'd go to practice sometime. Okay, when you go to New York, she'd get on the IU plane. I'd call my wife, hey, I'm in New York. Next time I'm in Detroit. Next time I'm in, wherever. And so for me and Coach didn't really have family. our family life at all. And I was born and raised different,
Yeah.
and so I had to get out of there, and so they called me here at Utah State, and Rod Tueller was the coach, and they had a bad year, and they asked me if I'd come in as assistant coach and then be named the head coach the next year, which was okay. I mean, I did it. We won the Big West that year, beat UNLV, and so then I became the head coach next. But God, then we got in the new president. What was his name? King George, who fired all the guys in the whole athletic department. And we struggled. I mean, I wouldn't say we struggled, but, we had UNLV in our league, and they're number one in the country. We played them 3 times, twice during the year. The number one team in the country, at Utah State. My last year, we played 20 games against top 20 teams.
Wow.
20 games. We BYU twice, Utah twice. They were both in the top 20.
Right.
UNLV's number one.
Was that Tarkanian?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, they beat Duke by 25.
yeah.
We almost beat them in the Spectrum. Kendall Youngblood missed a free throw, or we would have beaten UNLV that year, and they ended up beating Duke by 25. So, we had really tough skill. And not only I know that, nobody else knows that or cares, but that was kind of the thing. But that got me here. But I came back here because this is where I want my family. That was more important to me than winning any games. But, King George, who we all called him then, the only meeting I ever had with him was like, if you're going to be successful here, you're going to be you have to be right on the edge of cheating.
Oh.
And I said to him, you got the wrong guy, because I'll never cheat to win a game. So that was it for me.
Yeah.
I knew I couldn't work for him, and he, but he had come from Auburn, and they gotten Auburn on probation like so many times, and so it was fine. But I've been able to raise my family. Yeah, they're all doing great, and we're doing great. I actually started making money after I quit coaching.
There you go.
Yeah. But I stayed away from it for a while. I didn't go to the games, or I didn't do anything. Mitch Harris was a good friend of mine from way back when, so he always, you got to go with me to their tournament. And people probably looked at that like, I'm being disloyal to you, but he was just a friend.
Yeah, and that's too bad that the outside sees that, but because you are just friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
the relationships you've had for a long time. But no, I love Utah State, and I've watched you guys. Maybe I wasn't always at the gym, but
yeah.
But I have great respect for what you guys were able to do, and Stu Morrow was able to do, and I actually loved Coach Sprinkle this year. I mean, he actually reached out to me, took me on a couple trips with him, and I'd go watch him practice, and he was really good, really a disciplinarian. But now, don't you wish it was like then, like it is now? You'd be worth a little cash, JC, in the portal.
Would be a little cash in the portal.
I can only imagine Bobby Knight sitting with the recruit, and the recruit's like, "Hey, how much money are you going to be able to give me?" I can only imagine. I'm at a Bobby Knight.
That wasn't even, you didn't even think about it. When I coached, you couldn't even give a guy a ride across campus in your car. You couldn't buy him a hamburger.
I watched that Fat Fights argument.
Yeah.
That was nuts.
Yeah. And I've always thought that the players should get paid at least as much. A kid can have a summer job.
Yeah.
And
It's hard. You can have a summer job, doing, I got a summer job, but I was up in the oil fields working. Like, that was okay, but I couldn't do anything basketball related. I couldn't do a summer camp. I couldn't do individual instruction.
Right.
Something I spent so long and I was passionate about.
Yeah.
I couldn't make a cent to it.
Right.
That was
So, there's
so backwards.
So we need to have a little bit of a kind of come together here, because it's getting wild. It is. It's out of control, and now you don't play for Utah State because you play for them because they're going to pay you the most money. And that's a shame, really. And then guys like JC, you don't know if they're going to be able to come up through the freshman ranks and be able to develop in the way that you need to, in that way because we've always had at Utah State great guys like JC, and that's what the whole Utah State family should be proud of, is those kind of situations because, man, for us to be successful here and enjoy it, there's got to be some feeling both ways and some loyalties and that because it's such a good thing to have and we can be proud of here in this community.
Do you feel like that relationship has been amended and bridged between you and Utah State, Coach?
It always was so. For me, it was always there. I just stayed out of the way.
Well, and the last thing I've got to ask is I've sat here for this conversation, which has been so interesting, so fascinating. You got two rings on. Tell me about these 2 rings.
Well, those are national championship rings. Okay, and so...
What year's this one?
Well, this is the same year.
Same year. Okay.
This came from the university, and this is the one we actually were given in the Superdome in New Orleans.
Okay.
In 1987. But this one says, I think it says mental toughness and teamwork.
So cool.
But, I don't think there's anybody else in the state of Utah that has a national championship ring but me.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I would think
Now you think about it.
Yeah.
I'm
trying to think. I don't think there is.
And I can tell you one thing right now. I earned that.
Awesome.
I earned that. And our players earned it.
Yeah.
And you can say whatever you want. Oh, I was lucky. This and hey, I worked my tail off to get that, and I know that, and I'm fine with it. You say whatever you want.
And that's just by a conversation. You can see the well deserved, well earned. Something that I've never had a chance to see or see. And that's unbelievable. Hoosiers #1, toughness.
You think about some of the great coaches, like from Utah. You think about Rick Majerus, who saw an incredible amount of success. He got to 1 national championship, fell to Kentucky, and I think Tubby Smith was over there.
It's dang tough. It's
hard. What you guys did here, this is hard. So I can only imagine how proud you are to actually be able to have one of these. This is, especially, with the experiences you had with Coach Knight and it's amazing. Coach, I want to ask you really quickly, because just before we got on air here, and I know he'll be uncomfortable with it, but that's fine. But you talked about JC and kind of what he's meant to the university and what you got to, when you watched JC play, what was it like for you?
Oh, I was fixated to him because how does a guy of his size and athletic ability be as good as he is? And it's a lot of things. It's footwork, it's balance, it's anticipation, but it comes from just really hard work, and you could say, well, he's a natural shooter. That's all BS. He became a shooter, and then what you can't do with recruiting that we always thought as coaches is, you look at all these players, but you can't look inside of them, what they have inside their mind and inside their heart. And he's one of the guys that just doesn't come around. He's a 1 in a million. And so to have that inside, Utah State was very lucky to have him.
That's very, very kind. A huge compliment. Thank you so much. And, your story, I shared this at my Hall of Fame speech that, shooters aren't born, they're made. I remember my dad, I was in 7th grade playing a 3-on-3 tournament, and I lost in small town Edison, Wyoming. Where my dad, he looked at me, he goes, I can't believe I got a kid that can't score the basketball. Yeah. And I just took it and internalized it, and it was, I love my dad to death. He taught me everything about basketball, but it was like, okay, that won't be me. I'll know how to score basketball. So.
Well, you certainly could do that.
So thank you.
No, I've told him a billion times +1, what he's meant to the program. I think he's like, all right, look, that's nice. I've already agreed to do your podcast. Don't worry about it. But I hope JC, hearing Coach Conn Smith say that to you, I hope you understand what you absolutely meant to Utah State and still do mean to Utah State University. And I mean, on behalf of those schlums like me who sat in the sands and watched you, please accept our deepest appreciation and gratitude for everything you did for our university and for the men's basketball program, because it's you who brought it to the elite place that it is now. So,
well, thank you. That's awesome. Love Utah State. It's been a great conversation. Thank you for joining us.
Coach, thank you. That was.
Let's go fishing. I gotta go fishing.
I know 2 years ago, I was some teasing around. Hey, can we go fishing? He goes, absolutely. And I was like, and I'm too scared to text him. I'm like, I have 40 drafts in my text messaging of Coach, you want to go fishing or something? Too scared.
So, JC, go up there to Walmart, buy one of them little Zepcos.
Okay.
Take him out. You two go out to Wellfield Pond. Get you some Potskis, balls of fire, salmon eggs, or some Velveeta cheese. And do that for about, 20 years. Then come see me.
Coach, thanks for your time. We appreciate you greatly. Thank you. At the Video Legal Podcast, JC Carroll, AJ Salveson. Thanks for listening.
Oh, mama, what a tune could get me to feel this way. I think I'll be coming home.
You're looking for the best place to grab yourself a pizza and, of course, entertainment? Look no further than Ruby's Pizzeria and Grill at 795 East, 1400 North. Ruby's Pizzeria and Grill has your salads, delicious pastas, creative pizzas, all that including watching some good games on TV with your buddies. Ruby's Pizzeria and Grill also has a Thursday through Saturday 9 p.m. to midnight menu. That's right, 9 p.m. to midnight, Thursday through Saturday. You get the delectable items. Our producer, Adam Lerner, and myself went there, while Adam had the chicken fingers. I had this beautifully made gourmet hot dog with a delicious pretzel bun wrapped around it. Most importantly, Ruby's Pizzeria and Grill has the best customer service. Their employees are there to take good care of you, led by their manager, Thad Willis. So stop by Ruby's Pizzeria and Grill and let them know that the Unequal Podcast sent you there. 795 East, 1400 North in Logan.